I study horses, beauty matched only by their strength. I try and capture a little of that as I move on without your face.
Horses really like my beard, I've come to know. Me combing it. So we're at Redmond Ridge Ranch today. We got 3 or 4 horses here. This is Coda. Pretty straightforward shoeing. Doesn't need too much special needs. He grows a lot of vertical growth, so it's just maintaining that and make sure we don't get too much of the club foot kind of effect, because that can definitely cause some heel pain. So keeping him balanced and happy, right? He's a sassy boy. So when I start on a horse, the first thing I do is go to the bottom and get the foot somewhat cleaned out, get the frog cleaned out to where I can see proper junctions and proper landmarks of the foot and make judgments through the rest of the trim, so that there's not dirt or excess frog or excess foot kind of muddling my reading of the foot and the landmarks. And as I'm looking at this, I'm figuring out where's the bony column underneath the foot or in the foot, and figuring out how do I want to trim to get the foot balanced around that bony column. And it's kind of the same for every horse, even though every foot is very different. So the big things I'm looking for are the landmarks true? Like, is our frog nice and tight, or is it stretched because of the foot conformation? How is the sole depth? How's the strength of our foot in general? You know, somewhat like qualitative and quantitative descriptors. But kind of looking, I'm looking for the center of rotation of my coffin joint, which is right around here. So I'm figuring out, as I take the foot to the front, where am I going to bring it back to? Where am I going to adjust that horizontal growth to? So I can get that horizontal growth over the center of rotation, and then I'll come back and worry about the vertical growth and medial lateral balance. So now that I've looked at the foot from the bottom, I can come to the front, and usually I'll bring the rasp. I'll look at the long axis of the limb coming down, and he's got pretty straight conformation, so I can go right from middle fetlock, middle of coronary band, right down here, and this should be where his breakover point is. And then usually start there, get a nice mark for my middle and how far back I wanted to bring it, and then start to match the shape of this coronary band with that distal rim, or that distal growth. And I'm not trying to force a shape necessarily. Like, his foot is decently balanced, but if a foot is pretty distorted, I'm not going to force a circular shape on it if it can't handle it. And with this, I'm not overdressing. I'm just trying to line up those tubules and line up that wall. And it's satisfying to make it look pretty. And so I have a general idea of what I want that measurement to be, but I'm not forcing that measurement. I'm making sure that my idea of what it should be matches up with what it actually should be. Hi, Coda. And just kind of rechecking that I'm centered. My breakover point is center. and then coming to the front and seeing how the coronary band balance is. He's a little higher medially, and then I'll compare that to when I pick the foot up. Because sometimes front to back the balance changes because the coffin bone is three-dimensional, obviously. And so I'm putting the foot down, looking at the long axis of the limb, and seeing that he's a little longer laterally, but this medial heel is jammed up. So what I'm going to do is I first balance the foot with the long axis of the limb. So I'm going to take it, get rid of some of that excess lateral growth, so that he'll land nice and flat and balanced when he's in motion. So when his foot's in flight, he'll land with a nice flat foot. So I took more off that lateral, and now since that medial heel is jammed, actually not so jammed up now that I look at it a little more balanced. But if that medial heel were jammed up or contracted, I would take just a bit of that heel, and it could be just, 1/16 of an inch. But when you shoe it, you're floating that heel just a little bit so that when you get the shoe on, that heel bulb can sink down and get to where it should be, so it's not contracted and jammed up. Measuring on that center of rotation, form 5/8 plus. .56, same toe. So just a little roll toe on those. The biggest thing about upright and clubbed feet, I have no idea if you can hear this. The biggest thing about upright and clubbed feet is not about, necessarily keeping hoof passenger axis, but it's managing the breakover to decrease the tension on the deep digital flexor tendon that goes to the back and has tension and contracts those heels. So if you don't manage the breakover on a clubbed foot, you're not really helping it. It's only going to continue to contract those heels. So he's not one of those cases, but it's in a mild sense. He kind of grows a lot of vertical growth, so those heels could easily take off if you don't manage them. So, reason for the rolled toe, just to manage a bit of that. Ivy. So with forging, I always like to think of it as reading between the lines. So you take a foot that may not be symmetric or balanced, and the shoes helping that become more symmetric and more balanced. But to do that, you have to look at the foot and read between the lines and say, where does this foot want to be more symmetric, or where can I make it more symmetric and balanced? You know, and if the wall is really contracted and towards the middle, you know, you want to widen that branch of the shoe, bevel it hard, give it some more width, so it can expand and start to go in that direction. The hoof tends to want to follow the shoe. Let's go for it. So, learning from the burn too, I can see exactly where the foot went on that shoe, and I can say the medial wall, which is this one, is a more contracted wall, so I want to give it more width, so the hoof wants to go out and go towards the shoe. So this one has a little bit more width than the lateral wall that's right on the edge of the shoe. So now I'm just going back and checking before I grind, because that's how you get those crispy, nice grinds, is seeing what your fit is like on the foot after. And the burn gave me a good idea, but I want to make sure I'm right where I need to be. Feeling our edges, make sure they're nice and crisp. Sorry, bud. Pullers on that one. I'll need a nip or two. I'll take those other deals. I'll do this one totally. These straight walls are really hard. Take some time to figure out. Gotta like direct the nail just a little more. Okay. There we go. With her hind feet's kind of similar. She grows a lot of heel and kind of wears down her toe. And she's just a half shoe, so I kind of just shape the front. She's all the way back under her bony column, but just giving it some symmetric shape, not necessarily taking her horizontal growth back. She grows a lot of nice frock. Just cleaning it out for hygiene. Making sure it stays nice and clean. And the foot can clean itself out and not get gunked up. And pretty common pattern. She grows a little higher immediately. She's base narrow. So we're just gonna work with that conformation, bring her back, and then she'll be in the same place next time, but she won't further worsen herself, if that makes sense. Or he won't. Terrible with that. And again, I'm kind of just looking at the shape of the coronary band to figure out what shape the foot wants to be. And I'm kind of imagining like he does drag a little bit, so this toe should be a little further out. So really, I'm just focusing on shaping the quarters to match this coronary band and ignoring this part that he's drugged down. He's got those like ASMR frogs.
Yeah.
Ooh, gotcha. I was literally aiming for you on that second one. Not all of them, but I'm proud of myself. I got you on the second one I was aiming for. And similar pattern on this, medials, just a little higher. So, you know, we're not gonna fix his conformation, but we're gonna bring his feet back so they're not the victim of his conformation. Maybe that's a bit intense, but you know, you're never fixing an adult horse's conformation. You're kind of just making sure you can maintain good balance and structure if they have irregular conformation. You can fix foal's conformation, but that's a different story. That's good. That's good. So I don't know where he went, but I guess walk him down and see if you can find his name tag. Oh, so we're done. On to the next one. We got 3 more here. one more across the street, one more down the road. We keep going. Busy day. Busy day.
Who is the last one? Coda?
Coda, yeah.
When do you go back to see Coda again?
6 weeks. Yeah, we'll see Coda again in 6 weeks.
Anything else you want to say about Coda?
Get the heck out of here. On to the next.
I study horses, beauty matched only by their strength. I try and capture